So we're not always given the equation of the function to figure out its parent and its transformation. Sometimes I'm just going to be given a table of points that I'm going to have to put on a graph, and from the picture on the graph I'll have to determine the parent function, and then comparing the y-coordinates of the parent to the y-coordinates I was given, I can figure out the transformation. So first, let's just plot the points that I have here. So I have -2, -12, so that's just slightly off my graph, -1, -6, 0 and 0, 1 and +6, and 2 and +12. So again, just slightly off my graph. I'm going to connect all of the points I just plotted, and I can see that it's creating a straight line. So what this looks like is going to be a linear function. So now that I know it's linear, I want to figure out the parent y-coordinates using the x values that I was given. So I can do that using the calculator. In the calculator, I'm just going to type in the parent function. So the parent function for linear is x. So I graphed my parent, and I can see my straight line. So I can go to the table, Control T, and I can look and see what my y-coordinates are going to be. So at an x value of -2, its y was -2. At -1, we have another -1. 0 is 0. 1 is 1. And 2 is 2. Now what we want to do is compare the parent y column to the y column I was given. And I want to say -2 what is going to give me -12. And then -1 and what would give me -6. So that what needs to be exactly the same. So did I add the number? Did I subtract a number? Did I multiply a number? Or did I divide a number? And that has to be the same thing for all 5 of my points. So for -2 to get up to -12, I can multiply by 6. So -2 times 6 would give me -12. So let's try it for another point. -1 times 6 will give me my -6. 0 times 6 would keep it at 0. 1 times 6 is 6. And 2 times 6 would give me my +12. So what I did is I multiplied by 6 for all 5 of my points. Now it comes down to what transformation would be multiplication. So if we think back to the tables that we did in the previous lesson, when I multiplied, it was for either a stretch or a compression. Since these are whole numbers, that's going to be a stretch. Now I need to figure out the direction. Well, since I was just looking at the y's, the y coordinates would be affected by a vertical direction. So I have a vertical stretch, and then the stretch factor would be what we multiplied by. So vertical stretch by 6. So let's look at another example. So same thing here, I just have a new table of points. So I'm going to start off by plotting the 5 points that I'm given. So -2, -1, -1, -4, 0, -5, 1, -4, and 2, -1. Okay, so when I connect my points, I see that I get a U-like shape. So our U-like shaped graphs are going to be our quadratic parent function. Now what I need to do is figure out the parent y's that would come from our quadratic parent function using the x's that I was given. So I'm going to go into the calculator and graph the parent function for our quadratic. So in the calculator, I'm going to graph my parent function, and for a quadratic, that's x squared. So I have my parent function, and I need the points, so I'm going to go to the table, Control T, and my x starts off at -2. So at -2, my parent was at 4. At -1, it's at 1. At 0, it is at 0. At 1 it is at 1, and at 2 it is at 4. So like we did in our previous example, I'd compare the y's, so the parent y to the y I was given. And I want to think from that parent to the new y what happened. So 4 and what gave us -1? 1 and what gave us -4? 0 and what gave me -5? And the whole way down. Now the best place to start is if you are given an x-coordinate of 0. Here I have my 0 and it goes to -5. So the only way to get 0 to -5 would be to subtract 5. So that's my first guess at my transformation. So let's check it with the other points. Is 4 subtract 5 -1? Yes. Is 1 subtract 5 -4? Yes. Is 1 subtract 5 -4? Yes. And is 4 subtract 5 -1? Yes. Okay, so the whole way down, I subtracted 5 from each point. So when we subtracted, there were 2 operations that I had yesterday. I either was going to the left or I was going down. Since I am affecting the y-coordinates, when I subtracted from my y, I went down. So this quadratic has gone down 5.